in 2022. George Morgan here, your commentator. Alongside me once again, Chris Stevens. Welcome back, Chris.
Thank you, George. And yes, this promises to be a very interesting session because there are still several damp patches around this Francorchamps circuit. And by the looks of it, the majority of the cars going out on slick tyres, so they will have to encounter those damp patches at some point. Although, it looks to me like Everett Stack may well have been sent out on a set of wet Pirelli tyres. He was looking for the wet patches on the run towards Pouhon. But, yeah, I imagine slick tyres, and certainly slick tyres on the cars that remain in the garages, waiting for it to dry up a little bit. We look out of the window on the start-finish straight on our commentary box. We can see that the sun is very much out and attempting to dry the asphalt, but that's still that morning dew lingering around. It looks much drier around this part of the track, and yes, these cars that have made their way out are on wet tyres. Certainly the number 7 of Victor Dobransky was on wet tyres, so at least a couple of them have ventured out on the grooved tyre. But my estimation is that they'll be peeling right pretty quickly and bailing for some slick tyres.
Ever-changing conditions. Of course, the ever microclimate, that is Spa-Francorchamps, has blessed us with wet weather already this weekend, hence the damp lines that have formed onto the circuit. It does look like, though, they're drying up, so therefore the drivers that did make their way out on the wet tyres will now come in for a change. Now, looking onwards, we do, of course, have some new faces to introduce to you for this season. Of course, going back to my comments about Oliver Goethe in 2022, that was also the last time we witnessed a DriveX team on the grid. And indeed, they're back again. They've arrived here with more drivers to the fold. 14 are taking to the circuit here in total. But DriveX supplying the likes of Filippo Fiorentino, who actually went fastest in the second practice session, and incidentally, it was the fastest time that we'd witnessed in free practice as well, with a 2:10.819. Like I said, though, conditions playing a huge part in that, with Diego Della Torre setting a 2:25.130 for free practice 1. Aside from Fiorentino, we also have Gennaro Trapper as well, the Argentinian, now here as well once again. And the two drivers looking to get further experience in the realms of single-seaters and inside the famed Dallara 324 chassis that we introduced, of course, over a year or so ago. But fabulous stuff. Great to welcome them back once again. BVM also looking pretty hench as well, coming into the weekend at the same time with Feldman behind the wheel of the number 8 BVM racing car, the Brazilian stepping in. It's now a 4-part BVM squadron for the weekend.
Yeah, so that brings us up to 14 in total for this weekend, and it's great to see the BVM squad expanding. It was a big moment for the Giuseppe Mizzotti-led outfit in Monza last year. Was the first time they ran 3 cars. So right at the end of last season, they carried over with 3 into the first meeting of the season this year in Portimao, and now expanding that into a 4-car effort. So really, really great to see.
Yeah, fantastic to welcome them. Of course, BVM ever growing, and have been quite a presence in the championship. They did, of course, make the headlines at the end of last campaign, with Timo Kaharczyk taking the driver's title in dramatic fashion. And in other news on Timo Kaharczyk as well lately, a week ago, winner at Indianapolis in the Indy Next. And what a tremendous effort on his part as well. Ever growing, ever progressing in the world of motorsport. And you do wonder, Chris, the Euroformula Open Championship wing, maybe the cork out of the bottle, and now he's able to kick on in further echelons in motorsport.
It has been for so many drivers, and yes, well done, Timo. I'm not at all surprised to see him on the top step of the podium in Indy Next, to be honest. He's had a fabulous campaign over in the United States, and just add it to the list of drivers who have come through this championship, like Alex Palou, like Felipe Dragovic you mentioned earlier. Colton Herta raced in this championship as well. And of course, we're seeing the likes of Yevon David and Fernando Barrichello in FIA Formula 3 at the moment as well. Ollie Goethe in Formula 2. So drivers expanding across the realm of motorsports. So we had Javier Herrera on a flying lap, but those cars that started this session on the wet tyre now just venturing out onto the slicks. So brand spanking new. They've still got the stickers on them. That's the sort of white markings you can see rotating around the rubber, but that will wear off pretty quickly. and finding those dry parts of the circuit. They've still got 14 minutes or so to bed in a set of tyres. This will be interesting, though, what this does to the strategy, because I think it'll be quite beneficial to save a set of tyres for one of the races. They're permitted enough tyres to be kind of one short, really, for one race. So you could run two sets of tyres in qualifying, a brand new set in race 1, a brand new set in race 2, but then you'd have old tyres for race 3. So how they balance that out, and you know, they don't have to put new tyres on all 4 corners. They can run a mixer. They might want to run new fronts or new rears. More often than not, it's left to right side, depending on how many left and right hand corners there are. Here at Spa, it's quite even, the energy going through both sides of the tyres. A lot of energy going through the front tyres, though, because there are so many high-speed corners. And let the games begin here in the battle for track position as these drivers try to find some sort of slipstream.
Absolutely right, and we've also got to factor in that wet weather could once again make an appearance through the weekend, in which case we would see the wet tyres reintroduced.
It's true, because we have no idea what the weather's going to do. I thought it was going to be a washout today.
I was chatting to Christian Mansell actually yesterday. Of course, he's in the International GC Open this season, former Euroformula Open driver, incidentally, back in 2022 when we last saw Drive X on the grid. But he was suggesting that he wasn't entirely sure when it was going to come. He said to me yesterday, I hope it rains through the night tonight and we can come back the next day and it's going to be a dry race day. I know that there's certain teams, though, I mean, we'll get on to the GC Open when the GC Open broadcast is on, but there's a few drivers, as you would expect, that would love to harness the wet weather as opposed to the dry, some preferring the dry over the wet. So it's down to personal taste and preference, though the cars now making their way across the line. We got Feldman back to P1 this time with a 2:21.937. Aaron Farazano goes second fastest. It's rookie trophy drivers currently sat 1 and 2, and then we have Alessandro Famolaro in third. And it was a breakthrough weekend for Famolaro at Portimao, Chris. He got his first win of the season. Yes,
and after thinking his career was going to be over a year or so ago, coming out on the top step in Portimao, it was a very emotional victory for the Venezuelan driver. Certainly has given him a new lease of life and hopes for his racing career. So we had 2:21 last time around. The fastest time of the weekend so far was done by Fiorenzo. That was a 2:10.819. But with the damp conditions, I'd be surprised if we fully match that. Javier Herrera here on a decent lap. 2 purple sectors so far in that number 3 BBM machine. The Mexican driver in his second year of car racing. It was a difficult weekend for Herrera in Portimao, as you might expect. You know, coming in, there's a few more drivers with more experience than the 16-year-old.
Youngest driver on the grid,
yes,
as well, as Herrera now storms up towards the line. Obviously, Portimao not coating himself in glory, but returns here at Spa anyway, and provisionally goes quickest here for now. But Famolaro also digging deep, has found purple inside the first sector on this lap so far. We've also got personal improvements as well littered across the circuit. Of course, track generation is going to be a huge factor right now as the drying line begins to grow. Famolaro once again purple inside the middle sector again, looking really, really strong. And you do wonder whether that first win of the season in race 2 at Portimao will perhaps open up and inspire young Alessandro Famolaro in looking to grow inside this championship. Feldman back in the purples again in the middle sector, has stolen it away from Famolaro, who now makes his way up towards the line. Currently sat P4, and he'll go instead. Well, Feldman will go P1. Famolaro goes P2. So Feldman back to the top. A very impressive start here as Fiorentino goes briefly 5th fastest. Trapper now trumps him with Nandon down in 6th.
Gino Trapper we saw in Paul Ricard last year with the Nielsen squad, and caused a few headaches, if I remember rightly, for Ed Pearson, who was the full season driver over at Nielsen. Gino proving that he could stick it to the best quite early on.
Well, he's very capable, Chris. I mean, an F4 Central European Zone champion as well in the past, so he's got form and credits behind him. Javier Herrera looking to get a little bit of credit himself. Purple inside that first sector now this time. And again, we talk about track generation. We're finding yet the times are continuously starting to sink, with Famularo going purple as well inside the first sector. Herrera back in the purples as well once again. Youngest driver on the grid at 16 years of age from Monterrey in Mexico. Spent a lot of his time in the American regions and Europe whilst karting. Aside from that, debuted in single-seaters also in the Central European zone of F4, finishing third, but also top rookie. Has also appeared in Italian F4 and E4 at the same time, as we now watch the drivers make their way through the bus stop chicane. This is Herrera, though, who's going to look to lay down the provisional benchmark here with 8 minutes and 15 or so to go. It will be first fastest for Herrera, who manages to topple Feldman, but Famularo on the move. Purple inside that first sector, like I said. Can he correspond in the latter two?
So forget what I said earlier. We're now a 10th of a second away from the fastest time of the weekend so far, so I imagine we will end up beating that. But this is Famularo out of the Curver Paul Frère, named after the Belgian journalist and racing driver. He makes his way through Blanchimont. Interesting, they're not pushing the limits through that. I think he's backed out of this one, actually, potentially, and this is just avoiding some of the damper parts of the racetrack. That sounded like a lock-up for whoever was in front of Famularo, wrestling the car through the bus stop chicane. And let's see what the time is when he gets over the line. That was still an improvement to 11.0. So that's interesting. They're staying well clear of the curb at Blanchimont, presumably because there's some water out there. And that is not the kind of place you really want to be testing your luck.
Not at all. No, you can't take liberties, certainly with the Spa circuit, as we all know. In the meantime, Gino Trapper, the man from San Isidro in Argentina, has gone first fastest with a 2:10, should I say, 6:35, and that has indeed surpassed Filippo Fiorentino's free practice time of a 2:10.819. Dobransky has gone second fastest, just over 2 and very nearly a quarter tenths slower than the Argentinian on top spot. Javier Herrera now toppled down to third, but he's 66 thousandths back from P2 right now, but has gone purple. Though, dare I say, Rui-Heng Yeh on the move, and currently sits right at the bottom of the tree. As you can see, his last lap time that was registered, an official lap that is, a 3:10.406, as the tail gets whipped out on Diego de la Torre's car, as he looks to improve as well. Blanketed the podiums through the course of Portimao 3 weeks ago. Fifth fastest now, as Everett Stack arrives on the scene. Next up, we have Rui-Heng Yeh, the man who took pole last time at Portimao. Well, he's provisional pole here this time, and with 2 wins against his name already this season, could he yet make it 3 wins here this afternoon? We'll soon find out. But of course, provisional fastest, not bad with 6 minutes to go.
And Herrera up to second, 2/10 of a second away from Rui-Heng Yeh. That's a really impressive effort from Herrera if he can hold that off. That's currently 3 different teams inside the top 3. Motorpark, BVM and DriveX represented out there. And that was a great lap from Rui-Heng Yeh, and he's already continuing to improve on that time of the personal best in the first sector. So out of Malmedy there, and then we start to slow it down a little bit into the Rivage corner, or Bruxelles, as it is sometimes referred to, named after the Belgian capital. They're getting it right out onto the curve there. I'm not sure if that's completely ideal, and that tightens up the entry through Speaker's Corner or the Jackie X curve. So many of the corners here, they have 2 names. Some of them a Flemish name, like Double Gauche for Pouon, as is more often referred to. Victor Dobransky out of the bus stop chicane. Might be building up to a lap. No, he's done 2 personal bests so far on this one, and as he makes his way over the line, goes 3rd fastest. So actually gets usurped by Jan Koller, who is now the pace setter.
The Czech checking out in his last lap with a top time, 18-year-old from Prague, now on top. But it's Enzo, yeah, Rui-Heng Yeh, purple inside the first 2 sectors, looking really strong at the moment. Obviously his last lap at 2:10.153. It's only Koller in the 2:09s as things stand, but here comes now the 21, of course belonging to Rui-Heng Yeh. So looking to whip his tail out now of the bus stop chicane, looking to topple Koller once more. Can he do so? Everett Stack certainly will, but Rui-Heng Yeh arrives on the scene with a trio of purples, and now sits atop of the tree with 4 minutes to go.
So this is proven to be quite tight, only 3.5 tenths of a second on a 7-kilometre racetrack. Herrera goes back up onto the second row of the grid, seeing a much more confident Javier Herrera here this weekend than we were in Portimao, that's for sure. So it's Yeh, Stack, Collar and Herrera in top 4 at the moment. Collar and Herrera leading the rookie contingent there as well. We've got a glimpse of Jesse Carrasquido's car. It's clearly someone at Motor Park has heard me whinging about the fact that I can't tell their cars apart and have put a lot more yellow stickers on the 27. So thank you, Team Motor Park, as Rui-Heng Yeh makes his way through Malmedy.
Yeah, incidentally, I mean, Carrasquedo, I mean, had he got the race starts right in our last round, he could have really laid down the hammer on this grid. He was furiously fast. I mean, the places that he had gained through the course of racing in the Algarve, it was sensational, and now showing his pace in qualifying this time as well. Purple inside that middle sector, so actually looking exceptionally quick. Rui-Heng Yeh back for more, though. He's also fastest inside the first sector. This is going to be some furious fighting towards the end of this session now, as Carrasquedo looks to whip the tail out on the Dallara 324 and then make his way up towards the line in the luminous yellow front wing tips and also the mirror tips on either side. Only enough for second fastest over Carrasquedo, but he's knocking on the door. 22 thousandths between our top two right now, but Rui-Heng Yeh looking to put a massive gulf in between them. He's got it set in a personal best inside the middle sector of a 56.678. That's not quite as quick though as Carrasquedo's middle sector, but the first sector may yet also be a difference maker here for the Type A driver. Now making his way down towards the bus stop chicane on the brakes straight away. The drivers continuously finding more courage, more from their braking. They're able to go a little bit later as the track dries up, and now Rui-Heng Yeh looking to go fastest again, and he does a 209.405, and that now grows the gap to 1 3/4 tenths of a second.
Still barely anything in it, George. I love it. So Rui-Heng Yeh from Jesse Carrasquido now, and they'll be building onto what is going to be their final laps. Not for Diego de la Torre there. He will do no better than 6th at the moment. So him moving slowly on the run down towards Eau Rouge. If it were to stay like that, that would give him reverse grid pole for race 3. Now this is interesting because look, Rui-Heng Yeh is getting a slipstream from Everett Stack. And Stack is in completely clean air. The American currently on the second row of the grid. You would argue it needs to be more the other way around at the moment. Let's see what Divi Nandan can do, a long-time race leader in Portimao. Although he did get a jump start penalty starting from pole position on that particular occasion. And so the 55 car making its way into the bus stop chicane, got teammate in front of him. Oh, little twitch under braking there. This is definitely still the danger zone on the racetrack. They're not even using all the track on the left-hand side there because there's more water there and on the curbing. And so Divi Nandan only 12th for the Indian driver, I'm afraid, as Rui-Heng Yeh fastest in the first sector, as we saw. He's coming up to the second timing split shortly. We'll see where he goes. 30 seconds left on the clock. Here is the championship leader coming through the curve, Paul Frere. Oh no, he's lost time. He's lost a second. Maybe something in the swap there with Everett Stack, because he's now ahead of his teammate, is Rui-Heng Yeh. But this is not going to be the lap. But to be honest, George, I don't think he needs it.
No, I think he's going to be okay, Chris, at the moment. I mean, I don't think he's going to be able to go again, to be honest with you, with 5 seconds left in the session. This will call time on Rui-Heng Yeh's qualifying here for now. Jesse Carrasquedo, his last time at 209.580 was, like we said, just under 0.2 of a second slower than Rui-Heng Yeh. But this is a fabulous visit again for the Chinese Type A driver, who, after Portimao, managing to secure pole position for that event, he's now back again for round 2 here at Spa. And it looks like the back-to-back poles have been secured by Rui-Heng Yeh, blossoming in this championship after making some sparse appearances towards the end of the season last year, and now for his full season campaign looking as strong as ever, and now fastest at the end of qualifying here at Spa.
Great job from Rui-Heng Yeh. Back-to-back pole positions. Jesse Carrasquido alongside him on the front row of the grid. That's going to be a tasty run down towards La Source in the first race of the weekend, which is due to get underway at 1:10 this afternoon. Do make sure you come and join us for that. Interesting to see where Everett Stack goes as well. And look at the rookie drivers as well. Jan Koller, Javier Herrera, very little separating them. They're right up there in the overall honours as well. And look at Alco Feldman, faster than his BVM teammates on his debut.
Yeah, spectacular from Alco Feldman, the Brazilian driver coming in. Of course, his fellow namesake and father, a Brazilian stock car legend. And now here in single-seater race cars. And looking to give his career the big push indeed, the young 17-year-old. And has also been taking part in other realms of single-seater racing, Formula Regional Middle Eastern Trophy, for example, with MP Motorsport. It's fantastic to have him on the grid with us as well. But there's the man of the moment, Rui-Heng Yeh, back again for Motor Park team, who have been dominant through the realms of the Euroformula Open Championship in the modern era. Of course, their first ever winner at Spa was Marino Sato back in 2019. That was Motor Park's first win at this track.
A good teammate Everett there, helping out with the steering wheel.
Cohesion, you love to see it. Here are the results though, folks. It's Rui-Heng Yeh, fastest at the end of the session with a 2:09.405. Jesse Carrasquedo just behind him by under 0.2 of a second, with Everett Stack in third. Jan Koller, highest rookie, in fourth place ahead of Javier Herrera. Much better performance from the young man, with Diego Della Torre in sixth. Alco Feldman down in seventh, Victor Dombransky down in eighth. Filippo Fiorentino in ninth, fastest ahead of Gennaro Trapper down in 10th. Further down, Alessandro Famolaro is in 11th, ahead of Dimi Nandan in 12th place. Lorenzo Castillo down in 13th, and Aaron Ferrazzano down in 14th place, of course, featuring at the very bottom of the tree for Neri Autosport. But it's one thing to qualify, it's another thing to race. As we all know, with the way the tracks behave, well, certainly the Spa circuit behaves, anything can truly happen, especially with the conditions as well. But will it be another win in the back pocket of Rui-Heng Yeh? We will, of course, find out, I'm sure, soon enough, as we now take a look across the scenic view of Spa-Francorchamps, when we can stand by now with Rui-Heng Yeh. He's with Alfredo.
Enzo Yeh, pole position here at Spa. Good work. Not an easy start out of the weekend though, but good qualifying.
Yeah, yesterday we struggled a bit on the dry conditions, but afterward we worked hard with our engineer and my coach, so I think the result we got was we deserve it.
And of course the conditions are typical Spa, very cold, sometimes humid. How does that impact?
Wait, what?
How does that impact on the work? What's the impact of all these conditions changing?
I mean, mixed condition like we do, we use the old wet tire, go on the track to see how is the track condition, and we see how is the grip. So that's also the why we improve lap by lap.
What do you expect from the race today?
I mean, I watched all the race from last year. I mean, P1 start will be a bit hard for the first straight, the main straight. So we'll see, we'll fight, and looking forward.
Well done for now. All the best.
Thank you.
Well, a man who has done his homework. Let's see if he can pass the test coming up this afternoon. It's Rui-Heng Yeh who will be starting on pole position here at Spa-Francorchamps. Make sure, of course, you do tune in and join us this afternoon. But from all of us here this morning here at Spa, it's goodbye.